Partners around the world who are linked to us by the wonders of modern technology. I hope. Oh wait. Hi. Okay. The Board of Directors is empowered to bestow the honorary title of Companion of CPTM on persons closely associated with CPTM who've made outstanding, valuable contribution to the movement. The title's the highest award and was for the first time awarded in the year 2002. Companions are the link with the achievements and heritage of CPTM. The recipients of the award are recognised for helping to energise an international effort to exploit the benefits of technology to enrich the lives of people in the Commonwealth developing countries. Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni was an early recipient in 2005, and he said, "CPTM is a factory of generating ideas. There's a severe deficit in generating correct and tested ideas. That is why the world is in crisis. Ideas cannot be generated by bureaucrats. To sort out the issues of the world, ideas must be generated by the people with a proven record of solving problems." There you go. So, Mahala will tell you more about this shortly, and we welcome you all to this great celebration of achievements, and I hand you over now to Mahala to introduce the Companion Awards.
And Mike sees the CPTM Companion Award, the Companions of CPTM Award has been introduced, as always being one of the best master of ceremony for this special moment in the CPTM members' dynamics. The first CPTM Companion Award is Professor Noel Zabardami. He was director of CPTM board, and for that reason he was not actually given a companionship up to now. Those who are serving on the board, it was an agreement on the board that while they are serving the board, they don't receive the CPTM companion.
To introduce Chancellor Omar, I must do. Academician extraordinary. Omar has been awarded honorary doctorates by no less than 8 international universities, including proudly my own city of Bristol, UK. So he's been Science Advisor to the Prime Minister of Malaysia, been on the UN Advisory Committee on Science and Technology for Development, and UNESCO's International Scientific Council for Science and Technology Policy Development. These are just a few of a host of organisations that Omar has led, and led in the development and deployment of high technology for the good of millions of other people. So the achievements really do go on and on and on for Omar. I guess here we recognise him for his visionary leadership of CPTM over 18 years, and he's thriving and prospering on regular injections of the virulent Mihala disease. What a survivor. What better credentials for the man to read the companionship citation to our late beloved Noel Zabardami.
I have been immunized. The passing of any member of a family takes away something irreplaceable. But if any event justifies us defying grammatical logic and calling someone very irreplaceable, it is the passing from our Smart Partnership family on the 18th of February this year of our distinguished Smart Partner, dear departed friend, and now to be honored companion, Professor Noel Zabadani. Noel was acutely aware of how being a smart partner is something special, but not something separate. Whatever it is, grows organically out of character and experience. This is underlined by the variety of tasks, achievements, and distinction at different levels and in the different fields which Noel packed into his life. A Rhodes Scholar, a trainee brewer, project officer, and becoming a general manager of that corporation, director of the Bank of Valletta, professor of inorganic chemistry, chief executive and surveyor of the Malta Dry Dock Corporation, pioneer in joint ventures with Eastern Bloc countries, tasked by the Maltese government with a lead role for encouraging FDI into Malta, member of the Council of the University of Malta, and major force in the Malta Council of Science and Technology. And most of all, he was a CPTM member, a founder, and a smart partner. A full citation of Noel is available in the material that is given to you. To capture it in a summary, what Mahila has put it very well in the painful days after Noel's passing. And I will read from what Mahila has written. He was the archetypal smart partner, first-class scientist, first-class businessman, first-class civil servant, first-class director of CPTM, and first-class dialoguer and moderator. But above all, smartest provocateur. So much so that the new role in the smart partnership dynamics have been shaped over the last 15 years, the Noel factor. He was a first-class friend, first-class father, and husband. And may I say with humility and gratitude, my first-class sounding board on anything I would dare to think of in terms of dreaming together for CPTM and the smart partnership in each country. That was what Mahila wrote soon after Noel's departure. But for me, Noel, besides being a fellow smart partner, he was a true friend, generous, helpful, and wise. He loved playing the role of the devil advocate, the agent provocateur, saying the outrageous, the unthinkable, that forced us to think out of the box. We surely miss in his absence, the rising of the temperature, the quickening of the tempo of our meetings. Except for the outbursts from the chairman from time to time, triggered by some issues which some might say is happening unforgivably too often these days. There is only one thing wrong which he did, as far as I am concerned, and that he chose to go to Oxford rather than to Cambridge. The role Noel has played in CPTM is irreplaceable. It is for these and more that CPTM humbly offers its highest instrument of appreciation, the companionship, to our dear Noel Zabadani. We are pleased that Noel's family has agreed to honor us by accepting this companionship of CPTM in his honor and in his memory. Nobody deserves this award more than him. He epitomized all the CPTM stood for with his inimitable way of expression of his thoughts and views. He recognized how important it was that knowledge is shared, especially among those parts of the Commonwealth that was less fortunate. That part came from Martin Lang. Lastly, may your soul rest in peace, smart partner, CPTM companion, and dear friend, Noel Zabadani. You will be missed, but you will never be forgotten. Thank you.
say thank you very, very much for offering Noel this prestigious award. I only wish that Noel was here. To CPTM, Noel, CPTM was family for him, and so CPTM is now family to us. Thank you very much.
Invitation to our other companion, I would ask, which is Ian Downing, I'd like to introduce Cathy Cunningham. Cathy was science advisor to Margaret Thatcher's Cabinet Office. She was director of the Bristol University Graduate School, and this afternoon reflected she was a stalwart defender, and still is, of the role and contribution of women at the forefront of science and development policy making. Cathy is an unstinting analyst of the most difficult public policy problems, with amazing vision and tenacity to battle a way through to a worthwhile solution. This makes Cathy, for me, as qualified to deliver this citation to a man who successfully grappled with how to get 16 countries to fund, I think, 320 million euros, would you believe, towards cleaning up the gigantic nuclear mess after the Chernobyl disaster, and also a whole lot of rotting nuclear submarine tombs, a heritage of the Cold War. Ian was ever confident and consistent contributor to our successful direction, and I'd like to hand over to Cathy to read the citation. Cathy, please.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Mike, for the promotion. I was never the Chief Science Advisor, except for the space of a month, between one going and one coming. And during that time, I encountered the chairman of the House of Lords Committee on Science and Technology, who came up to me with a glass of wine in his hand and said, "Oh, you're the chief scientist now, aren't you?" And then 2 days later, Chernobyl happened, and that was quite a serious thing to do without a chief scientist in office. Actually, Ian Downing and I overlapped for just a few months in the Cabinet Office, because he came in as I was leaving. The Cabinet Office is full of people who go in on secondment for only 3 years. The idea is that it's a useful training ground for civil servants to come in and see what's happening at the centre of government, and then they go back out again to either wherever they've come from, if they're welcomed back, and they're not always, or somewhere else within the public service. Ian is one of the founding members of CPTM and a long-serving board member. His scientific background, experience in science and technology policy, incisive mind and commitment to the smart partnership have meant his contributions to our work have had a unique value, and it's fitting that he should be made a companion. And it's very nice that it's happening at the same time as Noel, because they were great friends. And Ian was at the farmhouse in Malta, which was one of the really important, it was one of the important moves in the smart partnership movement, and he contributed a great deal to that. His career until retirement spanned over 30 years' work on science and technology policy, both in the Cabinet Office and the former DTI. He had a personal interest in complexity, and in particular the formation and evolution of self-organizing network structures, which I think we like to think we are, but we're never quite sure about that. There's a certain amount of direction from the centre going on. He's made major inputs into attempting to understand and explain to others the nature of CPTM, both formally and historically. He originally qualified as a nuclear chemist and physicist before going on to spend 10 years working in government laboratories. So he was also a researcher. In 1983, he was appointed technical and personal assistant, the chief engineer and scientist in the Department of Trade and Industry, and subsequently head of the department's efficiency scrutiny and management change program. Then in 1988, he came into the Cabinet Office as I left. But during his time in the Cabinet Office and then later when he went back to the Department of Trade and Industry, he became the UK government representative to the CPTM, which then became CPTM. And he attended the transition meetings with ComSec in moving from ComSec into being an independent company. And he was very helpful in steering that really rather difficult period. He also managed to negotiate 5 years of financial support from the UK government. Unfortunately, we were never able to get it extended, but nevertheless, they continue to maintain quite a large interest in what CPTM is doing. And I think that there are many people in UK government service who are involved in one way or another with CPTM in quite important ways. On his return to the department from the Cabinet Office, he served first as Director for Research and Technology Coordination, and then in 1998 he became Director of International Nuclear Policy and Programmes. And in this latter role, until his retirement, he was responsible for establishing the UK's own unilateral programme to address nuclear legacy issues in the former Soviet Union, addressing nuclear safety, weapons, decommissioning, spent fuel and waste management, and the social and economic consequences of the nuclear plant closure. But Ian is the second person to receive a companionship who's been involved in this work. Robert Smith is another one. He's not here with us this afternoon. He's coming, and I'm sure you all know him. And I think that we can all understand the significance of this work. We're always considering the significance of S&T in so many aspects of life, but certainly the whole issue of nuclear safety is one which is important for all of us. And it is good to recognise those who are doing this, not necessarily in a very public way, but making sure that the work does go on effectively. His career offers us a glimpse into what we in CPTM might call the system, the institutional infrastructure essential to the effective working of society internationally and at the level of the state. He's made an important contribution to a scientific and technological part of that international system, crucial to the safety of all societies and to their futures. And for that, I think it is very fitting that he should be awarded a companionship. Thank you. Now, Ian, unfortunately, is not in good health at the moment, and he's not able to be here because he's actually undergoing tests in hospital. He sent us a letter.
He's all right.
Right. He sent us a letter which I'll read to you briefly, if I may. He says, "Dear Smart Partners, it's an immense honour and privilege to receive this companionship. I had hoped very much and intended to be with you all today, but everything has conspired against it, not least my failing mobility. I fear that, in the words of Alexander the Great, I am dying with the help of too many doctors." He had a test today, an hour ago, for a session in the clanking MRI monster. I always wondered what the nuclear resonance spectrometer did to samples in my early days as a chemist. Soon we shall all know. I know what awful stories Kathy has told about me. I don't know any. But I look back with great fondness upon my long active association with CPTM and its predecessor, CCGTM. I recall well a day when I was working in the Cabinet Office at the same time as Kathy, when my boss called me in and said that someone called Mihaela Smith in Commonwealth Secretariat wanted him to go to Malta to talk about assessment. He said, "You go." I said, "I know little about formal assessment." He said, "Make it up as you go along." It was a message I got in DTI, and this began my long association with Mihaela and all her good works. And I think we're all very familiar with this business of having to make it up as we go along, when we're suddenly asked to speak on something that we hadn't even been thinking about at the moment. Since standing down from the board, stop interrupting. Since standing down from the board after many years, I remain committed to CPTM. Unfortunately, mobility issues mean you will see less of me. Again, many thanks for the offer. Now onwards to the mechanical monster.
Gerald Shurdom, who was initiating more or less the companionship, will receive the
Thank you, Excellency. On behalf of Ian, thank you all very much. After what I heard, now I know why the landlady at the Cask and Glass issued those meters every time he came back from Russia. Thank you very much indeed.
Next piece of the proceedings is something that would have been dear to Ian's heart. Kathy hadn't got any stories of Ian of that nature, but I've travelled around the world with Ian, and he had a magical way of sitting there and turning his head and nodding, and the next thing, gin and tonic appeared. Anybody that could slap a gin and tonic the way that Ian could. So, if you ever felt the need for a glass at an appropriate time, Ian was the man to be close to.
Ian, I don't think we can quite go back to the moment when all the directors were here, including the presence of Deputy Prime Minister of Namibia and quite a number of smart partners, but they were up to about 100. It was quite a buzz, yeah? And by the time we reached to the companion to awards, it was really quite kind of open also on the webcast, to live webcast to quite many people. So there was a citation that was read by Kathy Cunningham and introduced by Mike Wright. And if we pick it up to immediately after that, then what has happened? What has happened? Gerald Shurdom, on behalf of Ian Downing, took the companion awards and thanked on your behalf. So we pick it up from there.
Okay.
So then, could you?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's actually my honor and my pleasure to present the companionship certificate to my dear friend and brother, Ian. Ian is an original starter, igniter of CPTM, and he goes back a very, very, very long way. And I think he deserves this for two things, maybe. One of them being very patient with Mihaela throughout this. But I must tell Ian the good news. last sessions, I ran a logbook which I showed to John Carter saying Mihaela's talking log. And I was going it like flying hours, 0.5, and she did very well actually. She did not overshoot. So thank you very much, Ian, for all that you've done to us, for all your guidance and for all your help and for all the hard work that I remember in the dialogue, especially in Kasani.
Kasani.
John?
Yes, I think so. Congratulations and thanks very much.
Thank you.
Good.
One other thing I wanted to say,
Well, not surprising.
in addition to my reputation, is that if there is anybody in the movement that understood me, despite the fact he says he doesn't, is Yen, right from the beginning. And were you to be here with us face to face, but I'm sure you were on live webcast, yeah? There was at a point of time a discussion about networks and advice, science advice, and particularly David Cleabley from Cambridge talked about, he's not a science advisor, but he's quite interested in networks, and he's setting up a theoretical group who is going to be preoccupied about networks and governance. But he talked about supernodes, and if there is any supernode I remember that, not being a science advisor, was you when you were with Sir John Fairclough, isn't it? So what is a supernode, before you say something, you think? What is a supernode in a network?
So generally, in the world, the simple things are generally the right things. It's when you complicate things and have nodes within nodes and that, you just lose track of what's going on.
But anyway, in addition to this, if Omar would have been here, would have been handed personally to you the science, technology, innovation policy, the essentials. So here it is, which was launched in Dar es Salaam. So
Excellent.
with that, probably we only want to congratulate you and to open a bottle of champagne.